I've never been comfortable with the word entrepreneur. Oxford defines it as a person who sets up business or businesses taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. Profit wasn't and isn't my goal. I just love making meaningful conversations, and I realized after spending tens of thousands of hours perfecting that skill as a job behind a microphone, I could help others in perfecting that journey for them with podcasting. And finally, someone was willing to pay me to do it. This is Session in Progress. On the last episode, I introduced you to Viv and the team at Remarkable. Although that is the name of their business, it's also a great adjective for who they are as a whole. And they'd approached me to create their first season of the podcast, and they were going to pay me to do it. I explained to you what an entrepreneur is, well, defined by Oxford. But there's something even more foreign and unattractive to me, and that's the solopreneur. A person who sets up a business or businesses of which they are the sole employee. As someone who spent the best part of 15 years collaborating with on-air teammates, producers, artists, management, I've become accustomed to building and sharing ideas with teams. For the first 6 months of this business, it was lonely. Nobody in our co-working space knew what I was doing intimately. I didn't think they would care, even if I did want to share, as they've got their own small businesses to keep afloat like me. I remember actually when Listen Able, my podcast about normalizing disability, hit the benchmark of 1 million downloads. I created a post for our socials, I clicked upload, only to lean back in my chair and high-five myself and wait for gratification through likes and comments, as there was nobody to slap my hand back sitting there with me. I was a solopreneur until I met Amelia. Hello, Amelia Stamos.
Hello, Angus O'Loughlin.
There's going to be a few episodes with you, but let's focus on our first year together. 2022, you started like halfway through the year, so it's kind of hard to think back on those times. I mean, I've got a ridiculous journal to reflect on those moments. Where did we meet?
We met at our old commercial radio station. So I was given the opportunity for a cadetship, I guess you could call it, for a year of part-time, brand new, fresh off the street producing. And it's funny to think because you were the very first talent that called me to say congratulations on joining the show, because I was doing a national late night show, I guess you could call it, and weekend breakfast with you and Dylan.
How did you come to work at From Your Pocket?
At the time when you guys were at the South Yarra Commons, I lived down the road and you were like, hey, come hang out, let's catch up, let's talk about the business, let's talk about your life, because you were already taking that mentor role in my life of radio. You were sitting there and you were talking about Listen Able, and I was like, well, I'm happy to help. I was currently doing breakfast radio at the time. I had nothing else to do during the day, and at that point in time, I wasn't getting any job offers from that station we were working at. And so you were like, sure, help us out. And it went from me helping getting guests organised on the day to I can answer those phone calls for you, to, I'll do the information for you, to, subtitles. I can do subtitles for you. And it got to a point where it was taking up majority of my week. And I think we caught up for lunch and I turned to you and I said, why don't you just hire me full time? It's probably cheaper for you to hire me full time.
I was paying you casual rates at that point.
Yeah.
And I think I realized that by you taking away some of those responsibilities of the editing, I was able to try and focus on trying to get more business or more sales for the podcasts. We're very open about everything in our lives.
Yes.
But also, I'm very open with you about finances with the business. Was it always like that? Did I tell you how we were making money or what we were going to do? Did I tell you I wasn't paying myself? What was those discussions like in the early days?
There was one day where we had a project due and there wasn't really clear communication from either of our ends. And you were like, where is it? And I was like, oh, it's not finished today. And I think we did have a lax relationship that I was like, oh, it's another day. We'll come back to it Monday. And you looked down and you're like, okay, and walked off. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? I don't know what's going on. And then it revealed the next week after that, you're like, we get paid X amount when it starts, X amount halfway through, and X amount towards the end. And if we didn't have that on Friday, if we had the product on Friday, we could have gotten paid. And I was like, okay. And I'm very glad we made that point very early on, because I still have friends in businesses, in other careers and that sort of stuff, where they've been working at a company for 5, 6, 7, 10 years and they still don't have that conversation with their boss.
Let's finish it on a bit of fun. There's some more dramatic and deeper conversations to have further into this year of Session in Progress. But what's the funniest moment you remember in that first year?
A time you and I were sitting across the booth from each other at South Yarra Commons and we were going through how much a podcast episode costs. And you're like, I'm charging $200 an episode, video, audio, subtitles, socials.
Yep.
And I didn't know any better either. So I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. If we sell 5 of these, that's
Yeah.
$1,000.
That's great. And so
That's a true conversation we had with that financial company. Remember
Yeah.
being on the Zoom with those 2 guys? And he's like, that's a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And just for full transparency, like our prices now start at $1,650 for all of those things because it takes us so long to deliver at the quality of what we do. But yeah, these guys actually didn't even get back to us at
Yeah.
a price point of $200 or $250.
And like I look at the
That
work.
is a joke. Yeah. We're going to hear from Amelia, I imagine, a fair bit in this series. I'm writing these week to week, and the business is running in real time, so I can only plan so far ahead. But Amelia became that supporting, up top, down low high fiver that I needed. She's seen this business grow and recently slow. We're going to dive deeper into our working relationship in further episodes, including a moment I'm really ashamed about, a meeting we had in December last year.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I cried in my car that day.
I cried in my car
Yeah.
too. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You saw how upset it was.
Yeah.
I'll reveal your first reaction, what you did the moment I gave you this news, which was pretty harrowing for the business and yourself and myself, in a further episode of Session in Progress. But thanks for sticking around.
You're welcome. Thanks for hiring me.
But that's still to come, because on the next episode of Session in Progress, it's back, baby. The Journal. Going to be reading out 2 entries. One from June 2023 detailing this financial year's goals. If you've ever wondered how much does a podcast with millions of downloads earn, this episode is for you. We post the videos to each episode with captions on our LinkedIn page with the same name as this show. We also have an Instagram page where something big is coming and it's going to be announced there first. It's session.in progress. Give us a follow and stay tuned.